It's quite short actually, okay? My name is Pete Amyoony, and I was born and raised in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I was born in 1940, October 20th. And after I graduated from university, I came out west for 1 year to give a year. It was for a new Catholic school in Burns Lake, but it ended up being many years, and I'm still in British Columbia. So my 1 year has gotten to be about almost 70 years now. I came out from Nova Scotia. It took us 4 days. We got on the train. Another fellow from St. Mary's University. We were both graduating, and we were both going to go back in 1 year and get our master's in social work. He went back after 2 years in Burns Lake, and I stayed. But yeah, we came by train, and we were on the train from Sunday night until Thursday morning when we got off in Burns Lake. And that was quite a trip. We had a 10-hour stopover in Jasper, Alberta, and we were two guys. Both of us were 22 at that time, and we had more nerve than you'd ever believe. We saw a bus that said Jasper Park Lodge, and Ron said to the driver, he was sitting in the bus, great big bus like a Greyhound. He was sitting in there all by himself, and Ron said, when does the next bus go out to the lodge? We'd like to go out. And he said, oh, or if you're registered, we'll take you anytime. And Ron said, oh, that's nice, thank you. And he said, come on, Pete. So we jumped on the bus, and we got a drive out to the lodge, and he left us off. And we spent the whole day at Jasper Park Lodge. And when we walked up to the stables, the stable boy said, would you folks like me to saddle up 2 horses for you? And we said, yeah, that would be fine, thank you. And they thought we were guests at the lodge. And we spent the whole day canoeing in the lake and riding horses up the mountain trails. And then when we went to have something to eat, we realized neither of us could afford the prices of Jasper Park Lodge. So we asked the bus driver who was sitting out in front, when does the next bus go into town, because we have to catch a train this evening. And he said, oh, just hop on anytime, I'll take you into town. So he drove us back to town with the bus. I don't know how far it was anymore, but we had a great day. And I have some great pictures of our riding in Jasper when we were 22 years old. Dunster was one of the most beautiful places in the world. I lived in Prince George for 12 years before I moved out here. In 1970, a group of us came through the Robson Valley. The highway had just been put through from Prince George to McBride. Before that, if you wanted to go between McBride and Prince George, you had to go by train. And I couldn't believe how beautiful the mountains were. I just fell in love with the place. It was a friend that I knew in Prince George. We played in an old-time dance band together in Prince. And he had a sister that lived in Dunster, and she and her husband were moving south. He had been transferred. Her husband had been transferred by BC Hydro. It was Jake Mollendijk and Joanne Mollendijk, and they lived on Lee Road, and they were going to rent their house out. And Carl, my friend in Prince George, said, come on out for the weekend. They're holding a big dance at a place called Tijon. There was a community hall that was recently built there, and they were going to try to raise money to build a new community hall in Dunster. Kind of a problem, because a lot of the old-time farmers didn't like the idea of the hippies arriving in the valley and wanting them to stop spraying, because everyone was using Roundup and all kinds of sprays to kill the thistles and all that. And there was a bit of conflict going on between some of the old-timers and the newcomers. And there was quite an influx of young people coming into the valley at that time. A lot of people from the United States that were draft dodgers, and they turned out to be the best citizens you'd ever want to find anywhere. So and I had an afro that was the width of my shoulders at that time. So I was one of the hippies, and I was frowned upon by a few people. But it was okay. I made friends quite easily, and I worked on building the new Dunster Hall in '78. That started in October, and we worked all winter there. And because everyone was so interested in the hall, by the spring of '79, I knew almost everybody in Dunster. I had met them at the hall or at the store. You know, with the train station, when CN wanted to burn it down, we said no, it's not acceptable, and so we got it for $1, but we had to raise money and move it down away from the tracks because of the danger. And we put down a foundation, and then some people got together and formed a nice committee there that's been working their buns off for the past, 8 or 10 years, and it's just amazing. It's one of the nicest little museums I've ever seen. We're creating jobs, we're saving our history by saving the museum and the school. And Jill Howard was working on getting the building done up right, done up and renovated. She asked if I had any antiques that I could volunteer to put in the museum, just loan them, just for the for the cabinets, because they had not very much. Chuck McNaughton gave a lot, and Claude Hill gave quite a few things, and I said, sure, I got lots of antiques. My whole house is nothing but antiques, including me. And at that time I had just registered for Fiddle Camp down by Williams Lake, and so I said, Jill, I'm leaving tomorrow, I don't have time. You go over. And I said, my little cabin outside the house is full of antiques. The shop down below the house has a lot more antiques, like saws and stuff like that. And my house has got lots of antiques. So I said, you just go and help yourself to whatever you think will fit in the museum nicely. And I went off to Fiddle Camp for a week. And when I came back and walked in the door, I thought, oh my God, someone broke in here and ransacked my house. And it was Jill. Like, my kitchen table was gone and everything. And, I had to get another one. It was an antique wooden table. It's still up at the museum. Yeah, I was. At one time I took count, and I was in 14 different community groups at that time. And they varied from, you mentioned the Community Garden and the Dunster Fine Arts School Society and so on. And I enjoyed every one of them. I was on the board of the library and the board of the museum and all kinds of stuff. And I actually ran for the position of regional district director for one term. And one term in politics was enough for me. I couldn't get out fast enough. I hated all the meetings, like 12-hour meetings, and you went. And every month I had to go to Prince George for 3 or 4 meetings like that, and they went from 8:30 in the morning until 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. We were dealing with the whole regional district, not just the Robson Valley at that time, but I was the director for the Robson Valley for 3 years. When they shut down McBride and Area Hospital Board, we were quite upset because they wanted no representatives from the valley to have input as to how our healthcare system worked. And so we formed the Robson Health Association. That was in 1996, if I remember right. And we said, we're going to have input whether you guys want it or not. And we refused to give up the McBride Hospital Board, and they had to pass an order in council in Victoria to get us out of there, To me, there are things that need to be done as a group. And that's what community is all about. And community means taking care of everybody. I learned that when I was on the reserve in Burns Lake, that community came first. And that amazed me. I can remember walking through the reserve, and one of my students, Thomas, he as we walked through, he picked up a bike and started riding it. We were talking, and he was pointing out everyone's house to me when I first moved to Burns Lake, and I said, Thomas, is that your bike? And he said, no, that belongs to Billy. And I said, well, what are you doing riding it? You shouldn't be taking that. He's not using it. And I thought, what? And if Billy wasn't using it, Thomas had the right to ride it. And he would put it back. He wasn't stealing it. He was just using it, And I saw that sense of community where the people, and if someone shot a moose, the old people would come with their pan, I want the liver, I want this, and what the leftovers went to the hunter. I have a feeling that most people feel too busy to be taking on community stuff. That they're raising their children, that they're making their living, that they're farming, that they're doing that. But they forget that all of us are making our living or farming or growing big gardens or something too. And if only everyone would pitch in. You okay with that? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think.
Yeah, he brought with him, shall I start again, or?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, we got the backup audio today, but
Oh, okay. But David came up with a truck and a big trailer full of seed cleaning equipment, all the different kinds of little seed cleaners, portable ones and big ones and so on. And he needed a place to stay. And he got a hold of me because I've been in touch with this group, Farm Folk, City Folk, for 25 years. And he asked if there was any place he could stay up here that wasn't too expensive. And I said, just stay at my place. It's not expensive at all. And so he stayed in the cabin out here. And that night he came from Clearwater. We were next, and then he was going on to Smithers, I think, after us. And he was going all over northern BC with this trailer and demonstrating how to clean, like your garden seeds. If you save your own seeds, these little cleaners were really fantastic. So he spent from 9 until 3 or 4 in the afternoon at Dunster Hall on Saturday. Arrived here Friday night. I had supper ready for him when he came. We sat and had supper, started talking, and I said to him, David, the name Katzel doesn't ring a bell to me at all. I've never heard it before. What nationality is it? And he said, I'm Jewish. And I said, in that case, we should not be getting along because I'm Lebanese, and we should be fighting rather than being friends. And we had a good laugh over that. And I said, you reminded me, when I was 17 or 18, I joined a group in Halifax, Nova Scotia called the Scotia Male Chorale. And it was a men's choir where we sang in 4-part harmony and no accompaniment mostly. Sometimes they had a piano player, but most times it was just a cappella. And we learned this beautiful Jewish song. It was called Avinu Malkeinu. And he said, I know that. That's part of our rituals for atonement in the synagogue. And I was 17. This was a year and a half ago. I was 81. And I had not thought of that song since, but I came to the piano from the table and I sat down and I started playing it. I played it in the wrong key first, and then I realized this is a Jewish song. It's got to be pentatonic, pentatonic, diatonic, pentatonic, five note scale. And I put it into a C sharp thing, and I can't believe it. It all came back to me. I played the thing almost right through, made a few mistakes, but the next day after David left, he did his demonstration and went to Smithers, and I sat down again and played it, and the words came back to me.
can you play it for us?
Right now,
Yeah.
with all my wires on me? Yeah, sure I can. Yeah, I hadn't expected that. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll come back. Do you want me to sing it too?
Yes.
With my creaky old voice? Yeah, it's really pretty. I usually play it twice, but what I'll do, I'll just play it once without me singing and then once with me singing. It's quite short actually, okay? Avinu Malkeinu Hanenu Vanenu Avinu Malkeinu Hanenu Vanenu Ki en bonu masin Asemanu, Asemanu, Stokovo Hesa, Vehoshenu. Asemanu voese vehoshie enu. That's it. Isn't that pretty? I just love that